Rosie O'Donnell just put Whoopi Goldberg in her place, and it's not pretty. For years, these two have been like oil and water, clashing heads on live TV and ripping each other to shreds. There's been no clear winner to this day, but Rosie just got the last word in and Whoopi is not happy. Just what did Rosie say? And why is Goldberg at a loss of words? Welcome to Celebrity Fix, where we'll be talking about how Whoopi Goldberg cried as Rosie O'Donnell humiliated her publicly. But before we start, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications.
Listen, you are a white lady telling me what is racist to you, which is fine.
American who's been told what homophobia and hatred looks like.
You don't think it's racist if somebody turns to the leader of the free country and says, "Can you park my car?"
You know, is it racist? Do you think it's racism? I don't know.
I have a black kid I raised, Whoopi. I have a kid in my house.
That is not the same thing.
You don't have to be black to know what racism
Yes,
is.
you do.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do,
no,
baby.
You do not.
Yes,
Rosie last appeared on The View in 2015 after first leaving in 2006. You'd think after all these years O'Donnell would have moved on or at least grown to hate the show a little less, but no. The fire's still there and she's not afraid to speak her time. In a tell-all recent interview on Brooke Shields' podcast, Now What?, Rosie dragged her former workplace through the dirt. She said that the show heavily favored people. Obviously, that didn't fly with Rosie. O'Donnell wasn't the favorite, but you know who was? Elizabeth Hasselbeck. Rosie herself dropped that bomb. And get this. The American comedian even revealed that even though the show marketed itself as promoting women's voices, the reality was the exact opposite. Someone else was pulling the strings behind the scene, and according to Rosie, it was none other than a white cis man. Of course, all of this made working on The View a nightmare for Rosie, but that's not the real reason she left. Her exit from the daytime talk show had everything to do with her co-host Whoopi.
You said she was as mean to you as anyone had ever been.
She was mean to me on live TV. When people say, well, what happened? I say, go back and watch them. It's not like a mystery. Watch the way it went down. And I don't need to say anything. I mean, did it hurt my feelings? Tremendously. It was trippy to me, but I knew I had to leave. So I was like, I got to get out of here. I can't do this. I'm not fighting with Whoopi Goldberg. I have no desire to fight with her.
To be clear, O'Donnell is no saint either. During her time on the show, she's picked up several fights with co-workers. First, it was Elizabeth, but then it was Goldberg, and things were pretty bad between these two. They fought about some pretty serious stuff, like the Bill Cosby assault case. So here's how it happened. ABC decided to not talk about Rory Kennedy's documentary about Abu Ghraib on the show, and then Goldberg decided on her own that they weren't going to bring up the Cosby case either. This shook Rosie. She expected from Goldberg. In her eyes, Whoopi was taking the stand of a coward, and she made sure to let her know. For someone who's always prided herself in speaking her mind, Whoopi was backing away, and there was nothing more infuriating for Rosie than her clear lack of values. Of course, O'Donnell was nothing like her co-host. She wasn't afraid to speak her mind, and she let the directors at the network know how they were messing up by not speaking about these important topics. Naturally, ABC didn't like the comedian stirring up trouble like this, and before Rosie knew it, they kicked her off in 2007.
I have a black kid I raised, Whoopi. I have a kid in my house.
that is not the
You don't
same
have to be
thing.
black to know what racism
Yes,
is.
you do.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do,
no,
baby.
you do not.
But that's not all there is to the Rosie Goldberg feud. As we mentioned, these two women have been butting heads for ages, and O'Donnell has been pretty vocal about her hate for her co-host. She has used every opportunity to fire shots at Goldberg. Back in 2020, O'Donnell spilled the beans to Howard Stern, saying that Goldberg was rude to her from the start. In fact, Rosie said that the hate was there from their very first episode together. It all started when Rosie cut to a commercial. She thought that the directors were signaling her to do it when it was in fact Whoopi. Safe to say, Goldberg didn't like it one bit. From day one, she viewed Rosie as a threat because she wasn't afraid to call the shots, and Goldberg is used to asserting herself. She thought that Rosie was trying to make it the Rosie O'Donnell show, and Whoopi was never going to let that happen. Not on her watch, which is a shame because Rosie actually wanted to work with her in the beginning. She extended an olive branch to Whoopi in the start, saying that she only wants to do this if Goldberg wants to do it with her, but Goldberg didn't want to be teammates.
In other words, it was perceived that you were trying to make it the Rosie O'Donnell show, and Whoopi was like, oh, Rosie's not playing ball.
I know that she thought she liked it how it was. And I mean, we were friends in the celebrity vernacular for a long time.
Sure, I
And
could
then
see
when I
that.
went to do it, when I went to do that show, I went to her house and talked to her. You know, we had a great sort of come to Jesus. I said, listen, I only want to do this if you want me to do this with you.
And if you think that's bad, wait till you find out what Rosie wrote in the book, Ladies Who Punch, the explosive story of The View. She said that Goldberg was mean as anyone has ever been on television to me. And if anyone has doubts about her claims, then they can see it for themselves by tuning into the old episodes. In fact, when Rosie herself sits down to watch old episodes of The View, she can see the negativity Whoopie brought to the table as plain as day. Now, O'Donnell did make it clear that she was not looking to pick a fight or a shot at the spotlight. She only wants to share her story and make people see Goldberg's true side. Her fans deserve to know what she's like behind the scenes.
Racism, real racism is. You need to know what racism is. Racism is when somebody comes up die. That's racism.
Yes.
But
we know that.
But the difference is, I go into Brooks Brothers. My mother will go into, when it used to go into a place, and they would follow her around.
To make it worse, Rosie's been mistreated by prominent workers in the industry all her career. Even Ellen DeGeneres did it. The comedian spilled the beans, revealing that Ellen told Larry King that she had no idea who Rosie was and that they were not friends. Rosie was in bed with her wife when she found out about what DeGeneres said. She couldn't believe it one bit because, believe it or not, Rosie felt like Ellen and she had the same troubles when she came out as a lesbian. What's shocking is that according to Rosie, Ellen even slid into her inbox one time. But it seems like the talk show host remembers things differently. Given the situation, Rosie feels like it's more important than ever to raise her voice about the Goldberg situation. She can't let prominent names in the industry keep walking over her. She has a voice and a platform, and she's willing to use it to speak her mind. The good news is that some people are willing to stand in Rosie's corner. Some crew members on the show noticed how Rosie was visible on edge during her second time on the show. And according to some reports, she'd even complained to a few guests on the show about Whoopi's behavior. Goldberg has been known to treat her guests rudely as well, so Rosie and the rest of them found something to bond over.
We had a little bit of a weird thing, and after my show went off the air and hers was coming on the air, Larry King was on with Ellen, and he said, "Whatever happened to Rosie O'Donnell? Her show went down the tubes. She came out as a lesbian and disappeared." And Ellen said, and I'm quoting, "I don't know, Rosie. We're not friends." And I was in bed with Kelly, and I went, did I just hear that? Or was that like a hallucination auditory voice in my... No, and that's what happened, and it hurt my feelings.
Given everything that's happened, there's no way Rosie will ever come back to the show. In her interview with Howard Stern, the former co-host made herself very clear that she has no plans whatsoever to return to The View, saying that the boat has sailed. So if any of you thought that these two women could maybe talk it out over a cup of tea and get back together to host a daytime talk show, then think again. O'Donnell does not seem like the forgiving type, and Goldberg is not going to change her ways anytime soon. So the network is better off not putting these women in the same room again. On top of everything, Rosie described working with Whoopi as a painful experience both personally and professionally, and it's not something she's willing to revisit anytime soon.
Was there an opportunity for you to come back on The View at any point?
No.
And that's all the time we had in today's video. What are your thoughts on the matter? Do you think Goldberg deserves the hate? Or is Rosie going overboard here? Do you think these two will ever be able to put aside their differences? Let us know in the comment section below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for the latest updates in the celebrity world. We'll see you next time.